have this water.
It's coffee.
It's coffee.
She down there.
But this time I had a very, very different experience. One with Build 3. More than that, the startup ecosystem in Goa is one of the best.
No, I think it's super cool always to see how different ideas are taking shape. I'm excited for you guys as you fly the Build 3 nest.
And see. Awesome. Welcome to Build 3, guys. We have with us 3 founders from our Build 3 Impact Accelerator Part 2. And we just wanted to show the amazing startups that are being built in our community and more about their journey from their insight to actually pitching to actually building their own startup. So my name is Elton. I work at Build 3. I work in the marketing team at Build 3. This is Rysha with me. She's an awesome person who's working at Build 3 as well. And we have Sameera, the founder of Zencations. We have Akash, the founder of but now Floofers, because he actually got a trademark notice. And this is Priyanka, the founder of MyIND Gym. So yeah, guys, this is our panel for today. They're all part of the Build 3 Impact Accelerator Cohort 2. So I'd actually like to begin with Sameera. Tell us a little bit more about Zencations and why did you actually start it?
So, Zencations is a platform for wellness vacations for someone who's looking like a yoga retreat or an art retreat. You come onto a platform and you can find the perfect retreat for you. So that is what we are building. Why I'm working on this is a long story. We'll get into that as we go.
Awesome.
Akash, you want to tell us about you?
Okay, so this is more about Floofers or about me?
This is about you and
About
Floofers.
me and Floofers. So I'll introduce Floofers quickly. So Floofers is an animal experience company that is redefining crowdfunding for animal lovers. Animal lovers want to do more, and I've been one, having lived with almost 80 dogs in my life. And I realized that I'd like to ensure that more animal lovers like me are able to do more. So more about me as we go forward in this podcast, but Priyanka, would you like to?
Yeah, thanks Akash. So, MyIND Gym is something that has come from my own experience. We in these days are so much into digital technology that we have lost our attentions to, it's less than a goldfish now. So goldfish has a attention level of 9 seconds and we are at 8 seconds. So if we actually think, it doesn't matter to us. But then if you go deep down, it reduces your productivity. It actually hikes up your stress levels, and there are anxiety and depression that can lead to because of lower attention levels. And I think I was one of the victims of that. And that was something when I was looking to improve my attention. And throughout the journey I'll talk about it more. But yeah, it was from there that MyIND Gym was born, and MyIND Gym helps you improve your attention.
Nice, awesome. And
I just wanna, hi, I'm Rysha. I'm working on the partnerships and strategy team at Build 3. I'm just getting into the startup ecosystem, and it's always great to hear from founders and hear the insights behind what led you here. I just want to go dial back a little bit into, Akash, how you started asking, do you want to know about me or about my startup? And I want to, delve into once you get into a startup, because it's so immersive as an experience, how do you separate yourself from your startup identity?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
See, in my case, I think it depends on why you are doing the startup and what you want to do with it, right? I think we did the Ikigai model here at Build 3, and it was about finding that core thing that makes you happy, that you have skills for, that the world is ready to pay for. So in that sense, Floofers for me is that, right? It's my Ikigai. And so to separate it from myself is really hard because it is a core part of myself. So I do see the next many years just being spent on Floofers, right? I have to keep other parts of me aside. But I think if I can do that for a couple of years, then I have time to sort of separate myself more once it's established at some way. So I'm not looking at separating myself, I'm actually looking at joining self with the company.
That's what I was thinking. I think initially the idea or the problem you're solving comes so deeply from who you are and your experiences. If anything, you want to marry who you are with your startup and be fully one with it, you know, at least in the initial
Yeah.
stages, like he said, I guess. It has its downside, like my friends find me extremely annoying sometimes to hang around because that's all you can talk
You're always
about,
suggesting
you know.
retreats to them.
Yeah, and in your head you're just thinking, oh, this person has some issue going on, some health issue.
I
Let's
know what
find
you
out
mean.
where they can go. Maybe there's this cool spot in Kerala somewhere that they can go to and get better. Yeah.
So I actually agree. I mean, when you actually reach out to investors or somebody outside in the startup ecosystem or mentors, it's always said don't marry your idea. But it's very difficult. I mean, when an idea comes from your own experience, it's something that you cannot separate, and you believe in it too much. I mean, possibly iterations or pivots are part of it, but it's very difficult that you and your ideas are different. It's actually it because you believe in it so much that anywhere and everywhere you go, I mean, be it any place, so that's you. And that's what you're telling people. You're not selling your ideas, you're not promoting your business. It's because that is you when you're building it.
I feel like there's a slight distinction here where you're married to the purpose, where you want to see, like for example, you want to solve for attention spans, but the way you get there has to be flexible.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's the distinction that has to be made, because for me it's like when I'm doing something and I'm like, I face this where I go deep into what I think is right, like especially with my writing. I'm like, yeah, this is gonna kill, and I'm like, okay, this didn't work out so well. So I feel that distinction is definitely important. But I wanted to come back to you, Sameera, in terms of, like you mentioned, there was so much passion behind building for stressed out professionals, and I wanted to go deeper into that. So why did that actually come about?
Let me tell you a quick story. So I have a very run-of-the-mill story, come from like small town, middle class, education, career defines who you are and all of that.
Right.
And went to great schools, got lucky in that sense, and ended up at really good workplaces. But along the way, just our work cultures and our modern lifestyles create so many issues. I got burnt out. I was diagnosed with depression at one point. It got pretty dark at one point, And one day I said, okay, this doesn't feel sustainable. I'm going to take a break. And I moved to Goa at that point. And just one thing led to another, and I ended up going to a bunch of these wellness experiences. And it wasn't like a planned, I'm going to go to these and emerge out like a new,
Phoenix from the ashes.
person. Like, Phoenix from the ashes, right?
I like that. Yeah.
But in hindsight, I realized 6 months of going through these different experiences, I did come out a way more secure, happy, clear person in who I am, what I want. And I used to do therapy before all of this happened. Each session was like 10 therapy sessions in one go, right? You're not just talking, these are immersive experiences that are doing. And at one point, and I hear so many stories, pretty much everybody goes through like a downtime in their life at some point, right? And we all need help. And there are a lot of ways to get help. There's therapy, there's a lot of other things. But in my experience, I found it's important, or it's easier when you infuse some fun travel kind of elements and experiences. And that's kind of where Zencations began. Yeah, it's been a long time now. It's been like over a year since it started in my head and came to where it is today.
When did you
That's
move
the
to
story.
Goa?
This was during COVID. This was in 2021. I was here for close to a year and then moved out. And I'm back here now. I'm really happy about building Zencations out of Goa. It feels like the perfect place to build it out of,
Yeah.
And I mean, usually people have like a very different version of Goa in their heads.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting that you were able to find productive, like a productive work environment to build your ideas here. I know you've experienced Goa before, but how was it for you guys actually building something you're building your career, building your your work life in a place like Goa?
So Goa for me, I've studied here. I did my undergrad from
Okay.
Pilani, Goa. So I've been around and I've worked here productively before.
Diamond in the rough.
Emphasis on productivity.
So for me, I have been to Goa a lot of times before, but it was for a short duration of 3 days to 5 days, not more than that. And it has always been a tourist spot that you just go there, chill, unwind, and that's it. But this time I had a very, very different experience. One with Build 3. More than that, the startup ecosystem in Goa is one of the best. Me coming from Mumbai being a financial capital, you do not have an ecosystem, to be very honest.
Seriously?
Yes, it's poor. I mean, it's really bad.
Okay.
If you talk about Goa, I mean, I could reach out to the CEO of the startup ecosystem. He has spent hours mentoring and like guiding. I mean, he's the one who has got us into one of the schools who will be giving us a physical space for free of cost
Wow.
to
Okay.
set up the free mind gym.
Nice.
So, I mean that, then the creative community that Goa government is setting up.
Right.
That is only for the startup entrepreneurs or the design people, design tourism that they are promoting.
Right.
So I think they have this monthly first Fridays. I mean, where these group of people who want to build in Goa are there. Then there are, I think, third Fridays that's happening, and that's all organized by government. So
Right.
the ecosystem, I believe, in past couple of years has changed.
Yeah.
You have, I mean, business people from throughout the country coming here and working, and they. I mean, the best part is they are here to help you and support you. You don't get to meet these people so often.
Right.
And even if you meet, they'll be like, okay, take my number, I'll be there. But if somebody tells you that here, they're most welcoming, they'll come and meet you to a coffee shop, they'll welcome you to their place. So, I mean, I've been to a couple of them at their homes for tea and coffee, and it's just evolved.
Damn nice.
That's a good experience.
That's-
But that is true about Goa. Maybe because it's a smaller
Yeah.
place, it's way more close knit. So I come from Hyderabad, and the tea hub is pretty popular, and Hyderabad has some really smart, well-doing startups, but the community is not as close knit at all. Like it's all very disconnected and fragmented. The interesting thing here is you can pretty much reach out to anyone in the startup community on a message or call them, and they're very receiving and open to help and very supportive. Yeah.
Yeah, I think also just because of the community approach that a lot of your startups are taking, B, with the impact lens that we're trying to cultivate here. I think like Goa with its culture is super inviting. So I come from Bangalore, wherein like, yes, it's the startup capital, but it feels very competitive. It's like you don't want to talk about your ideas
Yeah.
because someone might just steal it or build the tech faster than you can. But over here, everyone's like sharing ideas. I mean, having you guys on the panel, wherein you're working together. Like, how was that sort of approach of just being put into this space with like 30 other entrepreneurs just out of the blue?
I think that was primarily the reason I wanted to come to an accelerator. I wanted the momentum and the energy of the group work and the collaboration. I was working on my own alone in my own home, and it was extremely lonely. Like an entrepreneur's journey in those initial stages is like ridiculously lonely, and that slowed me down. And I think that's natural. It slows you down. There's no one to push you when you need somebody on a low day. That was the primary reason I was looking for an accelerator. I told so many people, I think since I got into this one, my pace at least, like this at least 3x momentum in outcomes, and just how
Hustling.
more action oriented you are. Because you're also seeing, like now when she told me she was doing Shark Tank this year, potentially in my head I'm like, hey, there's a fire that turns on in your belly as well.
I wanna highlight this point because I think Akash ignited that fire at the beginning when he went to do his product, the first version of his
MVP,
product. So that I really like. So I've been to the 2 editions of the accelerator, and I think this accelerator people got to work like faster. and what happened was I noticed immediately after Akash did that first MVP in Vijaya's place in Goa, everyone was like, oh shit, okay, it's time.
It's time to roll up your
it's
sleeves
time to
and get moving, for sure, yeah.
So the question that was, right, the reason I also came here was the community.
Yeah.
And it is really the community that helped me shape the product very quickly.
Yeah.
Ritik helped me, who was not a co-founder, helped me actually build the website very quickly. And then Dhaval, who was not a co-founder then and is now, helped do the rest of the stuff. And everybody here helped. There were like 7 volunteers standing at our desk over there, and they were all Build 3 people, and it was just incredible. Vijay had opened doors to Offbeat Goa for us to do that even there.
That's awesome.
So my reason for here also was community. It's been amazing fun. I graduated 16 years ago, right? But it almost felt like we were back in college.
Yeah.
The way we were working till 2, 3, 4 in the night.
I'll tell you a really short story. So there was a zebra tank going on, and this was at 11, and Agni was doing it about class first, and he was saying, thanks guys for being here so early in the morning. And Varun was like, no guys, this is not early. And Agni had to defend saying, well, we went till 3, 4 in the morning, so you know.
Was it 11 a.m.?
I mean, just to add there, place where we stay, we have been up till 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And there have been days when there are 10 of us, there are days when just 2 of us.
Yeah.
And it's just fine tuning what you'll be doing.
Yeah.
And there are so many insights that you get. That's what you don't get by being at home or being in your office.
Yeah.
Even working from, I've worked out of co-working space. People there would say, oh, you're doing this, it's great.
Yeah.
Here they would critically, tell you that, analyze you in and out and tell you, dude, this is not gonna work. This is something that you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
So, that's the difference.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And go ahead.
I think just by also because Build 3 is the villa it is and the spaces that they have and not like a typical office-y building, like mentally at least I find myself in a more open, collaborative mindset as opposed to, like what you said, I want to keep protect or, keep this. Mentally, the place at least makes a lot of difference for me. Like when I sit in a closed cubicle, I'm very
And what you said about people critiquing your idea initially, like, has there been any change with the idea you came with and what you're leaving with?
Yes, for me, drastically. So what I had been building for over a year was making physical games and machines to help improve attention. So my thought has always been, because these phones are your problem and you should get away from it. But
yes,
yes. But then when I actually think about it, is it feasible to like build so many of them and reach out to a lot of people? Possibly no, because I can do it for 1 city, 2 cities. How do I do it for masses? You can't. And one major change was I was trying to solve all the problems, to be very honest. I was doing their attention, relaxation, stress. That was in the first 15 days I realized that is where I was going wrong. My positioning wasn't right. People were, when they were coming for the sessions, they were loving it because of the experience. But I was not able to reach out to the right people. When I changed the attention, I think I have been able to get a couple of big corporate clients. And conversions have been there. 2 I have already done, 1 is happening on 7, and like good money coming in. It's just because you position it right. So that was 1. And from going from these big life-size machines to a smaller device, just being in your app and reaching out to masses. So yes, for me it has been a drastic change, and I think it's been for good.
I think that's pretty much everybody's story, that their ideas evolved through the accelerator. And I actually found it super cool about Build 3 that they are looking at even pre-idea stage or very early idea stage founders, right? Because there are not many other incubators who take you in at that early stage, and you need a lot of support and mentorship at that stage. So just by virtue of being early in your idea, I think all of our ideas kind of evolved through the 3 months that we have been here.
So I didn't come here with an idea. I came here with a problem, and I was very clear that I have to find the best idea of how to solve this. My problem was that there are 1 crore animals in shelters, small animals, and around 10 crore on the streets, and they're not living a great life, and we need to solve for that. And we need to solve for that sustainably, which is where for-profit model excited me. Because that's where I think you can build large-scale companies which are actually solving problems. And so here, some cohort member here suggested, why don't you look at virtual adoption? I was looking at crowdfunding of products for shelters. From there, it evolved to virtual adoption. From there, we went on almost for a month a ride on understanding whether adoption works or not, and how do we solve for that. And then eventually we came up with a product where you can meet, you can adopt or virtually adopt animals from shelters across the country. So it was a ride. I'm sure it's going to be a crazier ride going forward. But I'm clearer in terms of the solution today than I was before. The problem still remains as close to me as it was.
Why is the problem so close to you? What is it? Why do you want to take care of animals? Let's go
Before
back.
Akash tells the story,
Yes.
I'll just add. Alok and I were talking the other day, and this was on. He was the first one who's cleared zebra tank and moved into bar raisers, right? And like you mentioned, he was the first one who did the MVP as well. तो कुछ तो ऐसे random बातें हो रहे थे, and Alok is like, Alok says Akash has a lot of good karma from all the dogs that he has taken from the 70, 80 dogs that he has taken care of in his life, and that's paying off in all his work now.
I like that.
I like that.
That's a very Alok thing to say. Also. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I feel what he's saying sometimes. I feel that something is there which is pushing me to do this.
Yeah.
It's not just me alone. But where it came from, I was a small child, and in my colony, everybody was, big and older, and they would bully me. So I had dogs in my colony, and I started playing with them. And there was this one particular dog. Her name was Rani. She adopted me, almost pseudo-adopted me when I was probably 4 or 5 years old. She would take me to the bus. She would come back when I would be back from the station, from the school. She would be sitting there. She would spend all the time with me. She would bring her pups to me when they were born, and she would have puppies almost every 6 months. So I had 6 puppies every time. So I took care of them and loved them, and they gave me a lot of love, and this kept happening for almost 7, 8, 10 years. And it gave me the habit of sort of playing around with dogs, but what I really learned was that they were my friends, they were my brothers, they were my sisters. Couldn't find really a difference between us and them except that they were a little better, and so therefore there was that enthusiasm of doing things. But then after that I did engineering, I did a master's from Harvard, I came back to India, and I realized that I wanted to spend my time in impact. I wanted to do things for people. Right now, dogs were not at the forefront. I wanted to solve for impact. And so the next many years, I've spent half of my time working at impact organizations, working at the Nudge, working at Azim Premji, and solving for human beings' problems. And I realized that's equally important, and we need to solve it, and it's really, really huge. But at the same time, there are other lives that need to be solved for, and I don't see a scalable solution in the animal welfare space today. And that has bothered me forever, and so that is what I'm trying to build. Something that can scale, something that can solve for all shelters in the country, all dogs in the country. That's the dream. What I also realized through this journey, however, was that what I was really building was an animal experience company. It is the experience that we have with pets that we remember, that makes us cherish them, that helps us make that bond. So if you just did crowdfunding where you gave money, it would not work.
Yeah.
You had to build an experience element into it. So we are perhaps the first animal experience country in the world, in India, I'm not sure. But that's what we are trying to build in the longer run. So that's how it's evolved.
What's the platform looking like right now?
So on the platform today, you can go and virtually adopt the dogs. It doesn't have other services. In the longer run, what we are also doing is an AI matching algorithm. So you will describe your attributes and expectations from the dog, and it will match you to the correct dog, which you can find in your city. You can go and meet the dog, when I say a dog, it can be a cat, it can be a rabbit, it can be an elephant in the longer run. We're starting with dogs. So you can meet that dog, or you can adopt that dog, or you can virtually adopt that dog. By virtual adoption, I mean you can pay for the monthly needs of the dog. Currently, it's a 799 rupee package, and in which we provide the food to the dog in that month.
Right.
And what you get in return are obviously updates, but the chance to go and meet the dog anytime that you want to. So you can schedule visits, and you can build that connection that you're seeking with animals today through Floof.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So just before we started the podcast, I was talking to Akash and about potentially doing like a dog yoga or a dog games, like games with dogs or any pets, right? Because like I love pets, but I don't have the resources to have one in person right now, adopt one in person right now. So every time I see a pet or animal outside or like my friends' pets, I get very, it's a lot of joy and just you light up, you know. I think pets have the ability to make you light up like humans don't have as
I
much.
agree.
So it's a great fit for what we are trying to do at Zencations, to have like a wellness experience around pets and potentially just people finding out more about Floof as well and stuff like that, right? I also, on a side note, want to add, Akash's storytelling skills are really good, man. Like from day one, week one, I remember talking to people about their ideas, and he was like 1 crore animals, or sorry, there's a big number, 10 crore animals, and that number really sits in your head, you know. And then when Ritik developed his side, I spoke to Ritik and I said, okay, what convinced you? He's like, his storytelling is really good. He starts with this big number, and he knew everything he was talking about. He was really clear in what he was communicating, and you know, it kind of became, I was pretty convinced after. And I also figured from here, generally, it is sad, you could be doing incredibly amazing work, but if your story doesn't communicate all of that, it can sometimes tend to dilute you know, the intensity of the work that you're doing. In fact, that was some feedback she had given me after my first zebra dance session, saying, because she knows, we have one-on-ones, she knows everything that's going on. She's like, a lot of the background work that you are doing didn't come out in your story. In that sense, I think for me, I'm figuring out to like proactively try and improve how you tell your stories. And land well on people. At the same time, I'm also trying to be mindful when I'm a listener to not just go for the story and keep my attention, like she said, and look at people's substance, right? Don't write off people just because they don't have intense storytelling skills when you're on the listener side, I think.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and definitely, like, it's great that you guys also pitch into each other's zebra tanks and try to improve that, because it's such an iterative process. Like, how many have you run? 3 at this point? 2 or 3 of them. So every time, like, improving. What have you, like, how do you decide what's the core, like what to keep every time, and then what to sort of work in, like even with your story? How do you like chalk it out more and the, you know?
It's very difficult, I'll tell you. Because every time you tell your idea, not just in Zebra Tag, anywhere, there are, I mean, people of all kind are listening to you. You'll have some good feedbacks, you'll have some very critical feedbacks, you'll have some feedbacks which you are like, oh, he didn't even understand what I'm saying. So the idea, and that happens everywhere. I mean, be it any idea. I mean, it can also happen with this cup of coffee. I mean, some would love it, some would be like, okay, it's just a cup of coffee, and there'll be people like, oh shit, it's just black coffee. But that happens.
How's that coffee?
So, I mean, see, you should see the intent of the person. If you believe the person understood you well and is giving you a feedback, take it with a pinch of salt that he's coming from the side who does not know the entire story. So every time you meet people, you should only take in things which you believe will make you grow, and like leave the rest. I mean, it's your journey. You'll hear, I mean, I mean, sorry to say that, but yeah, as the saying goes, dogs will keep on barking. I'm sorry that, but
Keep
that's
barking.
like, yes. But it's good. It's in a way good that you get something out of it and leave the rest, and that's what I believe.
You know how I learned to look at it is to figure out who is your target segment based on the feedback that I'm getting, because there are some people who fit into certain demography, just age or where they come from, in the sense tier 1, tier 2, what kind of, and you can I figured that's a great way for me to figure out who is my target segment. Someone who's telling me, hey, your problem only doesn't exist. I'm like, okay, I know that this segment of people don't have this problem. So I'm not going to focus on convincing this person, because I know I'm not a solution for everybody. Nobody can be a solution for everybody, right? There was a point when I used to get really like bothered saying, how is he saying that this is not true? इधर तो इतने सारे लोग बोल रहे मेरे को. But today I've learned to filter and say, okay, this person or this demography rather isn't mine. I'm going to focus on these other demographies.
That's a good learning.
Yeah.
For me, there are two pieces to this, right?
Yes.
The first piece is really using a set of frameworks, right, to come to the answers that you want to come to. There are enough frameworks for each and every problem that you want to solve today, right? Whether it's your go-to-market strategy, or whether it's your brand persona, or whatever, right? Whether it's your problem statement. You can dig deep, and you can use frameworks to build something that makes sense. The next step is really just talking to a lot of people and validating, right? And here you have to be unbiased. Here you have to be very specific about who you are going to ask these questions from and who you are going to listen from. But really, if you can do this, and you can enjoy, if you decide to enjoy this process, right, that everybody who's coming in is adding a little bit of gold, a little bit of value to your startup, then this is a lot of fun experience, right? We had Bar Raiser here, where like 40 questions came in like half an hour, and you had to respond to them in those 45 minutes, like very quickly. And it was nerve-wracking, right? But like when the whole thing ended, I realized I enjoyed it so much, right? Like it was almost like so many thoughts coming in one go, and difficult things, and you're still thinking through. So I think if you're open with, you have that mindset, if you do use frameworks, if you generate data, talk to a lot of people, you'd be okay. It'll evolve, and that's the way for it.
I'll just add one thing to what we have been shared, that you need to be humble to the critical ideas, but you should not be disappointed with the ideas which do not go well. So, I mean, critical ideas will help you grow, and you should take them with a pinch of salt and like grow with them. But then there'll be people who do not believe in the idea, as she said, and you should not get disappointed with them. So that's like the crux of it.
Somebody said the other day, who will get rejected at Build 3? We were talking. And my response to that was that the one who self-reject themselves will get rejected at Build 3, right? And even if they get rejected here, they can continue and build something
100%.
later. And but it's really that attitude which Priyanka is mentioning.
I think an interesting mindset shift I had towards failure, because when you get a critical feedback or something that's not working, you tend to get disappointed. We are so we all want to be successful, right? At least I grew up with a mindset that every little failure felt like you were fully failed in life. And unfortunately, I guess when you're in your 20s, you don't also have the long-term side to say there's 40, 50 years more to life. But that mindset shift to say, and then I heard someone interesting say, I tried 10 things so that I am successful at 2 or 3 and I fail at 7. But it's these 7 failures that make sure I succeed at 2, 3. If I only do 2, 3 to begin with, I won't even find one thing that I'll be successful doing. So just volume and not pulling yourself down fully when things don't go your way.
I want to highlight to the audience that there are terms like zebra tank and bar raiser that were said. You might not have context on that, but so what essentially happens when people come to the accelerator is they have a period of time where they attend sessions and learn about what it takes to build a startup, and then they actually build the startup, and then they have a series of pitches called zebra tank, where they pitch to each other and they receive critical feedback on how they can improve the product. So why did we use the word zebra? You guys want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's a zebra is basically to represent profit and purpose together. I believe it's a variant of Shark Tank, and we're saying since we build both profit and purpose together here, we call it a zebra tank.
And zebras are known to be community animals,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They like to go and travel in packs,
Yeah.
and so like, a lot of what we try to do here at Bill 3 is community, and I think honestly that is something that is our USP.
Sorry, a very interesting conversation happened the other day. Also because we're building in community. I'm trying to remember who we were talking with. I think it was me, maybe Prateek, 2-3 other people, and we were like, if you look at a customer's 10, 15, 20-year life period, it was Prateek. His customer will start dating, get married, whatever. Then eventually 2-3 years later, when they want to get a dog, or adopt a dog, we'll send them to Akash. And eventually, when they're stressed out in life, they'll come to Zencations. So anybody's customer we acquire in the community here, we are going to move them in
It's a family business.
Yeah. It's a network of businesses, and we're just going to move customers through their life cycles across our solutions, you know?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to go to Priyanka and want to know her story, because her story is pretty interesting because her partner is a magician and they're actually co-building their product, which is this tool which will help you unlock your potential of your mind. So I wanted to know more about that, Priyanka. How did a magician and a person in finance,
Yeah.
right? How did you guys actually decide to do this? Like, what was the motivation?
So my story is, I think, very similar to Sameera's. I mean, I come from a background. So my parents both work with SBI. So I was born and brought up with a thought process that you have to be a working woman and like achieve whatever you can achieve. I mean, I relate to her stories with marks, going to college, and like just growing your career. And I have been that person throughout. I mean, I have hopped jobs like anything. In my last job, I was heading the credit control, working capital. I mean, it was my responsibility कि company में कितना पैसा आएगा और कैसे जाएगा. So if you look at that, it was quite a stressful job.
Yeah.
And I was taking it like, oh wow, I mean, good money, good positions, everything was good.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that things were happening with me. I had started gaining weight without eating.
Yeah.
I had frequent headaches. I mean, my head was hot, burning every day.
Yeah.
So Mangesh had been keep telling me like it's like I can fry an egg on it, and truly it was like that. Then I started mumbling email replies when I was in my sleep, and I mean, that was the point when he told me you need to do something, like either get up and like do it or like just don't continue with it.
Yeah.
So one fine day I was working till 11:30. I got up from my couch, my head started spinning, and within few seconds I started throwing up. I did not know what was happening with me. It went on for 24 hours, and it was during the peak COVID. Both of us didn't realize what to do. We called a couple of doctor friends. I mean, no, nothing happened. And then finally a friend called back, possibly it could be vertigo, and he asked me to take medicines and something. And there was a small maneuver that Mangesh saw on a YouTube, and I did that, and it just was like, I was fine in 5 minutes. But that 24 hours took me in a very different way. A very interesting story. The next morning when I had shut down my laptop, told Mangesh that I can't be in office. I mean, I should have been saying that, but it just came across, oh, can you give these details? And we were like, see, I mean, in corporates, nobody cares for you. And you need to take care of yourself. And that was like a point where I thought that I need to do something. But it was very difficult, like, to leave that job took me around 6 months. To decide this, it took me 6 months. In the process, what was happening with me was when Mangesh came in. So he's a magician, yes, but he's also a tech savvy. We have gadgets all over our place. So he actually got something, and I knew this existed in my home somewhere, and he actually measured my attention levels, stress levels, and relaxation levels. So my relaxation was okay when I was practicing that, but my attention was like really low, and I couldn't digest that fact. Because if you're getting, I mean, whatever you want in office, people are liking what you're doing and you're getting promotions, you can't believe my attention levels can be low. I thought I was multitasker. I could do everything in the world, be it home, be it office, and I thought I was doing pretty well. And at that point of time, I realized, shit, there is a problem. And that's when I started reading about it. I personally wanted to understand what went wrong with me. I also took a silence retreat for 7 days, locked up myself.
Vipassana?
No, so it's deeper than that.
It's more intense. She
Yes.
told me the story. I want you to tell that story later.
So, I mean, the entire process was why it happened to me. I mean, I think because the graph or the number that was there, it intrigued me to follow this path.
Yeah.
And so, about the story, I locked myself in a room for 7 days with no windows, no mirrors, a cot and a big jhula, table and a
Solitude,
chair.
full solitude.
Yes, I mean just that, and it was an interesting journey. For 3 days, for 2 days I slept. Third day was normal. Fourth day I had, I mean, epic instant that there was a HD movie, in which it started with an anger. Why did this happen to me? I could see instances, including myself, like a movie was running. It was 2.5 hours to 3 hours journey. And it was like, it was from crying to being happy to being like just smiling. And at the end of 3 hours, it was like bliss. One of the best ever moments of my life. And that changed. So, I mean, I believe that I could do it, or I wanted to do it only because I saw something in the form of numbers.
Right.
So when something happens to our body, we believe because sugar upar gaya ya weight बढ़ gaya, because numbers are attached. With our mind, we can't see that, and that's what I wanted to build. If you can see the number, that's when you can see the change. I mean, for some people who have shown things, they could see that. I can do much better. I want to do it because it is number driven. You can see what is happening. And throughout the sessions, what we have been trying to do is we give them a graph. So what Mangesh got in was, I believe when I talk about these things, it's very heavy. And talking about mind fitness, attention or stress, it's very, very heavy. And when you talk to people, they would say, हाँ हमारे साथ होता है, but आगे क्या? So that's when we collaborated on magic with it. So the corporate sessions, the workshops that we do, we actually make you.
It's the fun
It's like
element
the fun
of the
element.
experience.
More than that, it's also like if there's a workshop name, are you paying attention? So magician will actually tell you, are you paying attention, and make you understand what attention is. Then on stress levels, we make people do magic trick, which they haven't done before. So while doing these things, and at the end of session, you actually ask them, so did you enjoy it? Yes. Were you stressed? 90% say yes. So how can you enjoy while being in stress? You can. So in this process, we explain them what is good stress, what is bad stress, so that we can reach out to masses. And it's a fun way that, like, dude, you go to gym and enjoy the gym. Please enjoy your mind fitness. Don't take it in a way which is, it's not heavy, it can be fun.
Yeah, so the way it lands on me when I see there's a magic element is, there's some curiosity
inner
I want to try. And in some ways, I think the fun element is what we are using travel to come in the retreats or wellness vacations model that we're doing, saying we'll combine wellness with some travel and some community bonding fun experiences. But when she was telling her story about the silence retreat, when she said the line, it was one of the best moments of my life, and there's like that spark in her eyes. It's a pretty similar story I hear from most people who have been to these retreats. These are very cathartic and deep, and you come out with like a few nice aha moments.
Right.
And that is what I wanted to make more happen in some ways when I started off Zencations, And I figured there's like a really big number. There's recent numbers which say Indian workforce 90% identifies they are sad and struggling. And globally, there's a BCG study again this year that says half of the global working force is burnt out. And when you look at the numbers, I'm like, this is insane, man. Like,
It's interesting
and-
that BCG is the one posting that report.
This is very interesting that you're saying this, because it is also one of the reasons why Floof also exists, right? There is so much loneliness today in the
Yeah.
world. It is a hard place to live. There are
Yeah.
so many single professionals living
Yeah.
in these big cities away from their families,
Yeah.
craving for some love and attention and some care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we thought Floof could be great for them. Floofers could be great for
Great.
them.
Yeah.
Because this way you could actually get a part-time dog.
Yeah.
Whenever you want attention, whenever you want that love, you can go on a weekend and give that. Otherwise, you can focus on your busy life and earn the money that you're there for.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask a business question which relates to all of what you're saying right now. A lot of purpose-driven companies seem to fall like if you're looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it falls in the upper levels, right?
Self-actualization.
Yes, and it's basically a roti kapda makan. That's another set, but these businesses fall mostly in the upper levels.
Yeah.
And usually that's not an immediate impulse buy or a need for people
Yeah.
to survive. And I wanted to ask, in a country like India, where our income levels are still rising, it's not up to the level that we want it to be.
Yeah.
What do you see how do you see the business proposition of businesses like yours? I wanted to go more into that.
I have a lot of interesting
Yeah,
thoughts on
I
this.
feel like you guys have gone through those journeys.
Yeah. So there are a bunch of different lens you look at this, right? One, what they call about India having a demography dividend
Yeah.
today
Yeah.
with young population,
Yeah.
which is educated, working, and all of that. 10 years ago or 15 years ago, what you considered essential buys versus what you consider today an essential buy is very different.
Yeah.
So yeah, your roti kapda makan comes first, obviously, but today, like loneliness, what he mentioned, or wellness, attention, these have also become very integral part of our everyday needs, right? Just how our lifestyles are.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of data today that looks at categories that current customers are spending looking at them as essential spend, and experiences, wellness, travel, education, self-care, these are categories, wealth, these are categories that there's some recent Razor Pay report, they looked at some billion transactions to see which categories people are spending on.
Yeah.
So I think how you see what is an essential spend change. Also, I think in US, like business trends and culture trends kind of move from US to rest of the world and India in like a 3 to 5 year timeline.
Yeah.
And now these categories have become very essential there, also because people there have more money and all of that. So, but those trends translate to India, and how you look at what is an essential and what is a impulse buy has changed. Having just one moment.
Yeah.
Having said that, I think there's a lot of education and awareness to do before you get a customer to buy. It's definitely not going to be, oh, this is interesting, let me buy. You have to take the customer through an education and awareness journey.
And
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So when she said mindset change, I mean when you said roti kapda and makan, it was I think decades back when
This was in
there.
1970s, 80s.
Yes,
huh?
when you actually consider this, I mean, I have seen myself and I mean friends and family and friends around that people don't buy houses today.
Yeah.
They rent houses.
Yeah.
Again, going to a mindset change, a lot of couples do not want a child. They adopt a dog. So
Yeah.
there has been a lot of mindset change around these things. So roti kapda makan was I think 70s. I think if you consider today, renting a house is considered. I mean, I am married for 5 years and I do not want to have a child
Right.
for various reasons. I do not want to have a child.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a personal choice.
Yeah.
So having a pet goes along with
Yeah.
it. So I think the changes that we generation have brought in are different and our priorities are different.
Yeah.
So mental wellness, having a company for loneliness. No, I mean, child was what? Because you wanted somebody to like have
You want
Yeah.
some?
give and take love and care.
Yeah.
I think that's being replaced by pets.
Right.
So the change has been there, and I think it's with where we all align.
And
I mean, vacations, yes. I mean, earlier vacations were supposed to be family vacations, or it was also because I think the most of the working that we did was physical.
yeah.
Is that they wanted to just sit together with family and just enjoy wellness. I mean, today's generation is working from mind, so you need mind vacations. I mean, the change has been there with the journey, and I think most of us, what we are building is with the change that has come in.
Yeah, and also, sorry, just as like the Gen Z represent, I guess. I think like for a lot of people my age particularly, like we don't want to go through this pain story, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't want to go through that like corporate grind, having to work like 20-hour days and then having that aha moment. Like we want to be able to sustain and live wellness-filled lives
Yeah.
at every point. I don't know whether that's necessarily translating into how people actually approach their careers in their early 20s, because we all speak about, yeah, I want a career potentially with work-life balance, but we still maybe choose to go that corporate route and all of that. And I actually want to ask you guys, because you all are founders, I'm guessing like early 30s, millennials who have been through that like proper like corporate life as well. But I'm guessing like, do you A, wish you started earlier, and B, could you have started earlier? Because
As
you know,
a founder, you mean?
yeah, because it does take like financial capital and also industry knowledge to be able to
Yeah.
run a business. So, you know, because I'm someone who potentially wants to enter entrepreneurship, and these are questions that I'm having. Like, do I build up the financial and like knowledge base to be able to be a founder, or do I start now?
Yeah, I think it's subjective, right? Like, I think starting early is always great, right? Like, my first startup happened when I was just graduating out of college in 2008. My second happened when I was in 2010, just 2 years after my master's graduation. Third happened many years later in 2017. This is the fourth one. Right?
Yeah.
So each of these journeys have given me a lot to learn, and I think my edge exists because of these startup journeys that have happened early on. So the tremendous amount of skills you learn, you have to go and talk to so many customers all the time, you have to build these pitches, you have to talk to investors, you have to do a lot. And so start as early as possible is what I would say. Don't wait. These are early on, you don't have other responsibilities in life.
Yeah.
Right? Like today when I am 37, 38, it is, I have responsibility at home. So I need to earn a set amount of money. But when you're younger, your parents are still paying for it, and we are in India, and it's a good thing that our parents do that. And so start early is what I would say, as early as possible.
I'd say, I think what you said about Gen Z saying, I don't want to go through the pain to then have the aha moment, I want to avoid. And it's great, prevention's better than cure, right? If anything, that's what I want to enable, saying I don't want to find people. I mean, of course, if you're struggling, we will help you, but it's better if you find people and help them before they've gone through that, deep, dark pain. And it's really cool. Gen Z have like so much clarity about and conviction about what they want to do. But should you start early, sooner or later, in terms of one, financial capital, and two, knowledge capital, right? Yesterday, Aman Gupta was doing some session, and he was like, "Yaar, India mein to itne paise hai, sabke paas paise hai." It's still, of course, you have to convince an investor and find an investor. But there's enough money in the market for you to find money and financial capital if you have a compelling story or a problem that you're trying to solve, etc. So don't take the pressure ki I have to earn this money first, and at least that's what I did. I was like, no, first 5 to 10 years I'm going to work, have some safety net, and then, but like you said, it's subjective. It's your personal finance situation. Can your parents support you? Can your partner support you for a short while? Like all of these things come into play. Knowledge capital, though, yaar, like it's a continuous journey. You are never like today I know everything there is to know. It's gonna happen on the go. So I think what has been important or useful for me is to build conviction in myself, saying I feel capable to solve this. I know I have the enough required skill set, resources to put everything together to solve for this. Having that self-conviction helps me move faster than money, knowledge, you will figure out along the
I mean,
way.
I have a very different thought to this. Honestly, if things would have not been that bad for me, I would have not been sitting here, to be very honest. I used to love my job. I was very happy in my family. If that thing personally didn't affected me on my body, I would still had been in a corporate job.
Yeah.
So I mean, it still depends on a personal journey.
Yeah,
And
I think
it affected me to a level that it pushed me, no, this is not for me and not for others. Because when you go back to office and you speak to your friends, everybody used to say, yaar, ye to sabke saath hota hai, it's okay. I mean, stress, pressure is part of life. No,
Yeah, it's
it's
sad
not.
how it gets normalized,
Yeah.
man.
And it is.
Yeah, it is. It's
It is.
unfortunate.
I mean, I've had colleagues who have gone through a lot. I mean, not just this. I mean, major shit stuff you can't just speak. But still, it is like it's okay. So for me, it happened because of the experience and people actually normalizing it around me. So it can happen. I mean, if you believe in something at a very early age, well and good. But it can also happen to you at any age.
point.
I mean, it happens to me in my 30s. Possibly there can be somebody coming up in their 50s. So it's never too early or late to start.
Yeah.
So anytime you think this is an important problem to solve and you see nobody else solving it, do it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
And-
sometimes when people ask me why are you the right founder or why are you the right person for this, of course it's a very legit question in terms of do you have the skill set, resources, but I also think just by virtue of throwing your hat in the ring saying I want to solve this problem, and there are not many others who are saying today saying I want to solve this problem,
Yeah.
and it's a legit problem that's existing in the society. That is, I think, almost is your first criteria that makes you a good founder to solve that problem.
Yeah.
Of course, on top of that, everything else comes in.
But I do want to say that entrepreneurship sometimes may be fancied in a way that it should also not be.
Yeah. The glamour.
100%
The
agree.
glamour,
Definitely.
right? Like it's a hard job. You are actually
Yeah.
going to feel
Yeah.
lonely and
Yeah.
alone, and you're going to do things like that. So it is
Yeah.
important that you have a community or a ecosystem which enables you to do all of that. I have seen founders
Yeah.
earlier not being able to continue because of other things sort of not falling place in life.
Yeah.
Great product, but there are other issues.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you got to be in a state where you think you can maximum contribute to that problem, to that solution.
Yeah.
If you are not in that state, maybe do a job for a while,
Yeah.
give some years to it, earn something, get some skills, and then come back to entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I think that's wise.
Yeah, very.
I wanted to come back to your businesses, individual businesses, and I wanted to understand more about what your top challenges were each of your business are, and what are you doing to solve them? Because I think that'll be interesting for people to know.
Right. So for me, there are two different sets of challenges. One is on the business and customer side. What is the process of figuring out where are the frictions and pain points in the customer journey? How do you solve that, journey? But operationally, I've had challenges trying to. It's so difficult when you have no budgets in the first 3 to 6 months to find people to work with you. Whether it's interns, whether it's low cost resources, you find freelancers, whatever. Also, it sounds logical to say, Acha, I will do everything the first 3 months, but it is so difficult to do. When you have to switch your mind from, let's say, I have to make content now to I have to make the pitch deck, it takes you an hour or 30 minutes in between to reframe your mind to a different problem statement, So if you're building everything on your own, you move so slow, and it's so difficult to hire people or find people externally to get pace. That's been a big challenge for me, and today I'm just looking, like I reached out to her yesterday saying, can you maybe refer some of your friends? I'm literally looking at it like I'm going to go to people in my network and ask them for referrals today. That's been a big
Getting
challenge.
people to come with you on this journey.
On the journey in your early stage when you don't have a lot of, budgets to spend. And
So yeah, one of my challenges has been team, right? Like the to find the right kind of people who own the product, who actually run with it, who have the right kind of skills and attitude that's been hard, right?
Yeah.
But I think for me, what has actually been harder is to find a for-profit, sustainable model to a social problem.
I was
Yeah.
gonna ask
Yeah.
this. I was gonna ask that.
Yeah.
Because that took so much out
Yeah,
of me
yeah.
in terms of how do you find something like that. You're literally finding an arbitrage in some space. And,
Yeah.
and as you go deeper, right, as you try to solve a problem, there's nobody who's paying for it. That's where it becomes a problem, right?
Yeah.
So you have to find pairs that scale. Now, who's that pair going to be is a hard job, and typically that's where most of the orgs falter. And so it's been a journey to find this model, but I think we have something to play with. What we are doing now is that we are providing products. Those products are going to the animals, and we'll make margins on the products that usual suppliers make.
Okay.
And that we will use to fund ourselves. So, but it has taken months. It may sound simple today, but it has taken months and months
Yeah.
of thinking. How do you make money and stay and do impact together,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
it's a thin line. And
But do you ever think that we see these big startups that or companies that started off as startups and are big corporations, and Google, YouTube,
Yeah.
whatever? Do you think an impact startup could ever reach that scale?
it already has actually. Like if you see Patagonia in the US,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
example,
Yeah, I know there are a few
Yeah.
superstars, but overall, in terms of an industry.
So I think the social problems of today are very large, and the government is doing a good job at it, and the non-profits are as well. But these are very, very large problems,
Yeah.
and they interact with markets, and the only one who understand markets are companies.
Yeah.
So the only way all of our problems are going to get solved in the long run is if companies decide to be more purpose driven. And so that's the future that I see, right? Like I actually see more and more of these organizations coming up, sometimes in hybrid models. They'll open a non-profit and a for-profit.
Yeah.
Right? Oftentimes they will do a for-profit for impact as well, and so that trend is catching up, and that's what's exciting to me. I think capitalism has its issues, but if you were to build in the purpose in it, you might be able to change the world in
Yeah.
many positive ways in the future.
Yeah, and I think it's also interesting that with people look at for-profit companies with a negative light, that they're trying to I don't know, add to the consumerism and the negatives of capitalism. But I think if you look at it from a financially sustainable lens, would you rather be solving your problem at the mercy of others who fund you, or would you rather solve the problem just independently? But you Akash, you spoke a lot about how you came to that, but for you both, was that also a long process, or was it more straightforward?
So, I mean, in the initial phase, I never thought of funding. I mean, I'll actually come to the question that Elton asked about the challenges. So, when I left my job and I wanted to do something for it, it was not a startup. It was something that I have learned through my journey and I wanted to give. So, the question that he asked was, were there challenges? Oh, definitely.
What are your
yes.
challenges
What are
right
your
now?
challenges right now?
Right
Yeah.
now.
I mean, I'll start from there and I'll tell you. I mean, when you talk about mind fitness or these problems affected me, and when you even go to your colleagues who are facing the same problem, they do not believe. They say it's okay. And when we reach to that stage, we would pop in a pill. I mean, that's the problem. That was the biggest challenge I had. So for the initial stage, I wanted to get away from that problem. So that challenge was not to get funding, not to build my own startup. My journey actually started to at least have few couple of fun workshops to let people understand there is a problem and the solution is not getting physically unfit and paying for it. So it started from there. Funding or getting to thinking about funding happened much later when I was at a point where I couldn't handle everything by myself, and this was taking a lot of my own saving. And I mean, initially I did a lot of free sessions, workshops. So funding was not just to grow my business, but to get along to the purpose I was going to. But coming to what challenges that are there today, I mean, you face challenges in everything. I mean, be it convincing an investor, be it convincing the customers. I mean, in Mind Fitness, it is convincing the customers too that this is something that would help you. So that is again a bigger challenge. So challenges, I believe, happen every day. It's the way you look at them and the find solutions to it. And when you talk about getting funding or being profitable, I believe when you believe and when others start believing in you, you automatically start getting profitable. One is, so when somebody saw a change in them, they spoke to somebody else, and it happened with me. I have seen
Word of mouth.
word of
Yes.
mouth, same repeated customers coming in, people telling others, coming for the workshops, corporate paying us a huge amount to conduct workshops there. So if you know what you're doing and you believe in it, I think you will make profit and do good.
Yeah. What you said about, most people say, no, it's okay that these things are happening, it's not a big deal. All of us felt at one point that way, right? I tell people, and I told myself that to be, it's the difference between surviving and thriving. And we are so used to be in the state of survival that we think, it's okay, every bit. And to be honest, at scale, most people are in survival state, right? It's only in the last few years because there's money coming into our culture and people have more, your Maslow's needs have moved up the scale. We are like, no, I don't want to just survive, I want to thrive. And when you make that slight frame change in people's head, it won't obviously happen like that moment, but over time, they'll begin to look at it slightly differently. Do you want to just survive or do you want to thrive in your everyday life?
So we are coming close to the end of the podcast. I wanted to end the podcast with a fun way where you guys can give us an elevator pitch about your startup and request the audience for any help or support that you may need.
5-minute favors.
Exactly. So, who wants to go first? you guys have been talking about pitching and all.
Show us your skills, guys.
Now it's time to show up.
Right, elevator pitch, huh?
I'll do it. So, we start with living in the moment. How many of us are actually living in the moment? The idea is to experience every moment that you're living in.
Maybe this can go in the camera actually. You can face the camera. This can be.
Yes. So, I'll start from where I end. So, the idea is to live in the moment. Every moment that you're living, you should experience that. That has actually gone down with the attention span going down. You see people walking with their phones, having food, coffee, anything, being around friends. The dinner tables look like people having food with their phones. People watching TV and having food. Live the moment, guys. Attention spans have drastically gone down, and we can actually help you improve them. We can give you an attention score, help you improve in a way that you improve your attention scores in a fun way. So do come to Mind Gym and live the moment.
And what's something that you request from the audience, like a 5-minute favor?
So anybody around you see is doing this, which I just mentioned, being on their phone, trying to do multitask, or is not feeling well, have stressed life, not able to pay attention, having problems in their work life, please visit Mind Gym.
So my name is Akash and I am the founder and CEO of Floofers. There are almost 1 crore small animals, cats and dogs in shelters, and around 10 crore of them on streets. They aren't living a great life. The amount of funds that are coming to this space are very limited. CSR just gives 0.5% of their funds, and crowdfunding platforms also don't do much. At the same time, there are a lot of animal lovers around who would like to do more, who may not be able to adopt but might be able to fund, who might not be able to fund but might be able to just meet. So for all of these people, for all of these animal lovers, we have Floofers, where you can meet, adopt or virtually adopt animals in a shelter which is near you. So if you are an animal lover, if you are a parent who has children who you want to teach compassion to, if you are a single individual in an urban city who wants a companion in part-time, then Floofers is for you. Come sign on www.floof.in and let's start this journey. Come join the pack.
Trademark pending. But do you want to request something from the audience?
I am looking for a great team. I am looking for people who believe in the idea, and especially if you understand marketing, if you understand tech, we'd love to talk to you. And of course, just share about us to everybody in the world. Follow us on VFloof on Instagram or on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sameera. I'm the founder of Zencations Club. I found out recently that if you look at numbers, 90% of Indian workforce identify that they're struggling or sad. Half of the global workforce says they are burnt out, and these people are all surviving and not thriving. What we are trying to do at Zencations is help you thrive and not just survive through our wellness experiences. If that sounds interesting to you, we start off, you can start off with a free trial session over a weekend. This could be like an interesting dog yoga session, or this can be capoeira. What is the session that you do? You do capoeira?
We're doing Kalaripayattu, Bihu, and Kathak inspired workout.
Yeah, a lot of Indian workouts, or it can be something like a 4-day retreat in Goa or a cool tourist destination. Please check us out on Instagram. We are called Zencations.club. Come take a free trial session sometimes and talk to us. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for sharing your journey. And I'm wishing all of you a lot of success. Rysha, do you want to say some final words?
No, I think it's super cool always to see how different ideas are taking shape. I'm excited for you guys as you fly the Build 3 nest. And you know, we'll all come back to each other, I'm sure, at some point, and I hope some words resound with everyone listening to this. I know I took back a lot, even personally, just listening. But yeah, I think let's go out and build